Welcome to the Digital Edge with Sharon Nelson and Jim Calloway. Your hosts, both legal technologists, authors, and lecturers, invite industry professionals to discuss a new topic related to lawyers and technology. You're listening to Legal Talk Network.
Welcome to the 132nd edition of the Digital Edge, Lawyers and Technology. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Sharon Nelson, president of Sensei Enterprises, an information technology, cybersecurity, and digital forensics firm in Fairfax, Virginia.
And I'm Jim Calloway, director of the Oklahoma Bar Association's Management Assistance Program. Today, our topic is a preview of ABA TECHSHOW 2019.
Before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Thanks to our sponsor, Clio. Clio's cloud-based practice management software makes it easy to manage your law firm from intake to invoice. Try it for free at Clio.com. That's CLIO.com. Thank you to Answer One, a leading virtual receptionist and answering services provider for lawyers. You can find out more by giving them a call at 800-ANSWER1 or online at answerthe1.com.
Thanks to Scorpion. Scorpion sets the standard for law firm online marketing with proven campaign strategies to get attorneys better cases from the internet. Partner with Scorpion to get an award-winning website and ROI-positive marketing programs today. Visit scorpionlegal.com/podcast. Thanks to ServeNow, a nationwide network of trusted pre-screened process servers. Work with the most professional process servers who have experience with high-volume serves, embrace technology, and understand the litigation process. Visit servenow.com to learn more. We are very pleased to have as our guests today our good friends, well, actually one of them Sharon's husband, John Simek and Lincoln Mead, the co-chairs of ABA TECHSHOW 2019. Lincoln Mead is the project manager for Canon Discovery Services and is an obsessive long-term mourner for the Chicago Cubs baseball team. He is currently working on the design and development of new discovery tools and services for law firms and inside counsel from around the country, and is proud to serve alongside John Simek as a co-chair of the 2019 ABA TECHSHOW board. John Simek is the vice president of Sensei Enterprises, an information technology, cybersecurity, and digital forensics firm in Fairfax, Virginia. He is the co-author of 17 books and hundreds of articles on those subjects and lectures around the country on them. John has a long list of technical certifications and is a graduate of the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. He is thrilled to be serving with his friend Lincoln Mead as co-chair of 2019 ABA TECHSHOW board. So thanks for joining us today, Lincoln and John.
Well, thank you guys for having me on the program. I'm excited to be here.
Same here. And I don't know, Jim, the way you introed me, maybe I'm not a good friend then?
Always a good friend and a spouse of a good friend. Let's talk about TECHSHOW.
Okay. Well, both of you have been on previous TECHSHOW planning boards. So how is this year as a co-chair different? And why don't we start with you, Lincoln, and then move over to John?
Being co-chair is a little different. Obviously you're exposed to a number of additional decisions that need to be made. You get a lot more phone calls and a lot more invites to discuss things. You're definitely getting a lot of guidance and suggestions that have to be incorporated into the program. In terms of the board makeup itself, really excited with the board we have. They've been great to work with. It's been a very smooth and painless process, which I've been very happy about. But like I said, the specific change is just kind of the drift in focus from being a board member to being a vice chair and then going to full chair. It's been very much an evolutionary process for me, but I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would have to echo what Lincoln said as well, and especially about the composition of the planning board itself. And it's really been a pleasure to work with them. And I guess as what's different for me as a co-chair, rather than just a normal planning board member, is you're at the helm trying to steer that ship. So making sure that we stay on track, we stay on task, and that the dates and times and all those things are working well, and that we're meeting our scheduled deliverables. So that's been kind of a challenge, because it is a lot of work. I mean, both of you folks, Jim, Sharon, you've both passed Tech Show chairs, so you know what it's all about.
Well, we are both past chairs, and last year, I think for the first time, Debbie Foster and Tom Mile were co-chairs. This year, John, it's you and Lincoln, and next year it's Catherine Reach and Heidi Alexander as co-chairs. So is the trend to continue to have co-chairs for ABA Tech Show on into the future?
Well, Jim, I don't know if that's going to be the overall trend. Obviously it's the leadership, the law practice division leadership that determines that as to whether or not they move forward. I mean, it's certainly my recommendation that we have co-chairs. I mean, the show has grown each year, which is a good thing. And I think it's grown to the point, my personal opinion, I think it's grown to the point where it's a little too much for one person to do. And we're all volunteers, so it helps having a co-chair. I know there's times that Lincoln can step in if I'm not available, or I'll step in if he's not available, and we can split the tasks, accordingly and take advantage of each of our skills. So I think that, if I had my crystal ball, I would say yes. I think going forward, we're probably going to see a lot of years coming down the road of co-chairs for Tech Show.
Well, last year, the really big buzz was about the new location at the Hyatt Regency Chicago. I thought it was absolutely fabulous. Lincoln, what feedback did the vendors have about our new space?
The vendors were very happy about everything. The best phrase that I had from one of the vendors is that it was far less bunker-esque than the previous location. But they enjoyed it. They could hear the whole floor. They could hear things happening. They had a better feel for how many people were on the floor, how the attendance looked. They felt that they had much better traffic and much better flow in terms of that traffic. So, overall, they were happy. I guess the proof of the pudding was how quickly this year's signups for vendors has exceeded the previous years. A lot of people came around, took a look, saw it, and decided they really liked it, made sure that they got their finger on their spot earlier this year than they did the previous year. So overall, we're really happy with the space that we were able to carve out for the vendors.
Well, one aspect of the vendor floor that seems very popular the last couple of years is something they call Startup Alley, where you give a chance to smaller new companies that might not could afford a full Tech Show exposure. And we saw some interesting companies there in the last few years. So was there going to be another Startup Alley this year? And if so, how does that process work of setting up Startup Alley?
Well, the short answer, Jim, is yes. There is going to be another Startup Alley again this year. Bob Ambrosi is heading up Startup Alley, and then the whole Startup Alley, the pitch competition. How it's going to work is very similar as it did last year. So the startup folks are going to, there's on his website, on Bob's website, as well as on Above the Law, there's a form that he's developed, an application form to fill out. And that deadline is November 23rd. Once those come in, then the top 25 are going to be selected by myself and by Lincoln and Heidi and Catherine, so the co-vice chairs. So the four of us will make a decision on the 25 finalists. After that's done, then those 25 are going to get posted on Bob's website and the Above the Law, and then people are just going to vote on them. So and I'm sure Bob will advertise all that. And then once they vote on that, the top 15 then are going to be the ones that selected to actually participate as the winners of a Startup Alley for Tech Show 2019.
Well, it sounds like quite a beauty pageant. I'm looking forward to it.
I hope we get a little bit bigger room this year, though. The announcement was in one of the most crowded rooms I've ever been at Tech Show.
Well, there is a change, Jim, to that, and I'm glad you brought that up because, as you know, the planning board listens to these things. We're actually going to have the pitch competition down in the main vendor hall and shuffle folks down the escalator down there. So I think it's going to be much, much better.
Okay, before we move on to our next segment, let's take a quick commercial break. Feel like your marketing efforts aren't getting you the high-value cases your firm deserves? For over 15 years, Scorpion has helped thousands of law firms just like yours attract new cases and grow their practices. As a Google Premier Partner and winner of Google's Platform Innovator Award, Scorpion has the right resources and technology to market your law firm aggressively and generate better cases from the internet. For more information, visit scorpionlegal.com/podcast.
Is your firm experiencing missed calls, empty voicemail boxes, and potential clients you'll never hear from again? Enter Answer One Virtual Receptionists. They're more than just an answering service. Answer One is available 24/7. They can even schedule appointments, respond to emails, integrate with Clio, and much more. Answer One helps make sure your clients have the experience they deserve. Give them a call at 1-800-ANSWER1 or visit them at answerone.com/podcast for a special offer. Welcome back to the Digital Edge on the Legal Talk Network. Today our subject is a preview of ABA TechShow 2019, and our guests are the conference co-chairs, Lincoln Mead and John Simek. Lincoln, there's so many relevant technology topics for practicing attorneys today. How does the Tech Show Planning Board decide what sessions to put on the grid when there are so many possibilities?
There's a variety of things that the board goes through. As John mentioned, we really strive to listen to the attendees, and we are really dependent upon attendees providing us with survey feedback. That's a huge thing for the board to look at, to get a feel for what worked, what didn't work as well. Also to look at, how the speakers presented themselves and what their reception was. Those two elements are really driven by attendee feedback. The other mechanism we have is that call for speakers, where we basically open the doors and allow people from the legal community to submit topic ideas, submit speakers. We had a record number of those this year that we were able to comb through, and found a great variety both in terms of speaker and content suggestions. And then the third thing is looking at what topics are felt are going to be even more relevant the following year. This whole process starts off the day after Tech Show ends, or the day that Tech Show ends, and goes through the entire year. And part of the programming is not looking so much at where you are right now, but where you think things are going to be next year and what information you want to get into the hands of the attendees next year. So there's some filtering that takes place there. And once you kind of have that into a rough pile, the board sits down and starts going back and forth, weighing the merits of feedback, weighing the merits of the suggestions, looking at current trends that are seen in our publication, and kind of making that determination on what we think is going to be the best fit for the program. It's really one of the bigger challenges that we have, making sure that we are relevant, and providing relevant content months before the actual event hits.
Well, John, 2018 had to have set a record for conferences on legal technology, law practice management, the future of law. Some conferences focus on specific areas such as e-discovery. So are there any particular areas or topics or subject matter that are really the focus of ABA Tech Show 2019?
Well, there's no overarching theme like e-discovery, Jim, but we're going to bring back some of the tracks that were very popular. Certainly you've got to have an advanced IT track there every year. Cybersecurity is still hot, so we're going to have something on that. We'll certainly have sessions talking about artificial intelligence because that is a growing area, as well. But some of the newer ones, and this gets to build off a little bit of what Lincoln was just talking about and how the board decides what we put on the grid. There's a how-to track, so practical sessions on how to actually accomplish something, how to actually do something, trending, a whole track on trending technologies, and what's gonna go in there. Some of the solo small as well is going to be. We'll have sessions there. This year we're bringing back the Mac track. Last year I know we didn't have one, and maybe for the last couple of years, if my memory's right. So that's coming back, and again because people have been asking for it. So we listen to what the attendees are saying. Things about the future-proofing your practice as well. Wellness is a big topic now. So just a bunch of sessions really about, beyond the technology, things that are just not strictly tech related, but things that are to help lawyers deal with the whole wellness initiatives that I know a lot of state bars, a lot of states are focusing on these days.
Well, Lincoln, how about talking to us a little bit about the vendor exhibit hall and maybe tell attendees how they can best leverage their experience there, because that seems to be, it is an overwhelming place, and attendees often look a little, just sort of, where do I go now? What do I do? They really don't get the etiquette of how to get through that hall and learn all that they can, because it's so huge.
When I've talked to new attendees about the best way to approach the conference, I've always said, get your conference materials either through the application or through the schedule, and mark out which events you want to attend, which programs. Then I say, okay, look at those programs and say, are there or can there be vendors that take care of these programs that I'm interested in? And maybe set that as your first pass through the exhibit hall. Look for vendors that will feed into the things you're interested in terms of the CLE content. The other thing is, I generally do this in a couple of different passes. The first thing through is I have very specific things in my mind that I want to see, or very specific products or services that I need to explore. So I'll generally go and get that out of my way as quickly and efficiently as I can. And then I make sure I give myself a little time to just drift around the hall, not really looking for anything in specific, but just to see what's there, to look for services or products that I don't recognize, names that I don't recognize, go over and introduce myself and see what they do. There's always this really interesting mix in tech show that I've always appreciated. Having gone to ILTA and legal tech, you have this thing in the back of your head that you're going to see the usual suspects. And in ABA Tech Show, I generally find a lot more in terms of new companies, new products and services that I'm interested in. So, like I said, I always talk to attendees and say, make a plan for your first pass that reflects your interests in terms of the programs you're going to attend, but then give yourself some time to just be willing to wander and drift around. Everybody's very friendly. It's very easy to kind of walk through and see everything that's there, and take your time and enjoy it. And if there are things that are missing, or if there are vendors or services that you feel should be there, that's good feedback for us as well. We will pass that on to the event planners and see what we can do to kind of fill those types of gaps.
Well, one of the most important things about ABA Tech Show is that we would like for all of our listeners to attend. So what are the dates for ABA Tech Show 2019, and what is the cost, and how do people register?
Visit the Tech Show website, techshow.com. The pricing is up on a website for 2019. The show is a little bit earlier this year than it has been in past. It's from February 27th through March 2nd of 2019. I know that's a bit early in the year, especially for Lincoln, who was wishing that the Cubs would be playing, but too soon for that. But as far as cost goes, there's an early bird price, and then there's the standard price. The early bird is through January 14th. And if you're an LP division member, that's $650. If your bar happens to participate as an event promoter, you can get a discount code from your bar, which would make the cost $700. Regular ABA members, $750. And there's a whole string of other scaled pricing that's there. Law student pricing, there's paralegal pricing, if you're a government or legal aid, those kinds of things.
John, are you guaranteeing personally that it will be a warm late February meeting?
No, that was, as I said earlier, Lincoln and I, having co-chairs allows allows you the flexibility to assign tasks, and that task has been assigned to Lincoln.
We're holding you to that guarantee, Lincoln.
I'm all over it. We were talking. We had the speakers conference this morning, and one of the big discussions was, who's going to join me in swimming in the lake, in between sessions. So, we had a lot of people that stepped forward to do that. So I'm kind of thinking we have the willpower to make sure everything's nice and warm for us when we get there.
Did I just hear that we're going to have a new social event at Tech Show?
Yeah, we're going to do it like this. We should have a polar bear. Why not?
I can only imagine. Jim, you better stop them now.
Okay, Digital Edge listeners, Tech Show starts in February. Bring a jacket. Stay out of the lake. Before we move on to our next segment, let's take a quick commercial break. Looking for a process server you can trust? ServeNow.com is a nationwide network of local pre-screened process servers. ServeNow works with the most professional process servers in the country. Connect your firm with process servers who embrace technology, have experience with high-volume serves, and understand the litigation process and the rules of properly effectuating service. Find a pre-screened process server today. Visit ServeNow.com.
Imagine what you could do with an extra 8 hours per week. That's how much time legal professionals save with Clio, the world's leading practice management software. With intuitive time tracking, billing, and matter management, Clio streamlines everything you do to run your practice from intake to invoice. Try Clio for free and get a 10% discount for your first 6 months when you sign up with the code TDE10. Of course, you can find Clio at Clio.com. That's CLIO.com. Welcome back to the Digital Edge on the Legal Talk Network. Today, our subject is a preview of ABA Tech Show 2019, and our guests are the conference co-chairs, Lincoln Mead and John Simek. As past chairs, Jim and I know that the planning board is always experimenting and trying something new. It's a little like Professor Snape at Hogwarts, he was the original potions master, and you used to see him all the time stirring up all these strange ingredients together. So what are you two brewing up this year, Lincoln, that's new?
We got a few things that we're pretty excited about. This is going to be our first year with a new applications developer. So I think the first immediate impact in terms of new experiences for the attendees will be that application interface. We spent a lot of time vetting vendors, looking at products, looking at services, trying to decide what we could work with in terms of getting the best experience to our attendees. So that's going to be number one, looking at that. The other things that we're doing, like I said, we're doing a little bit of a tighter integration for Startup Alley and the event in general and the exhibit hall in specific. One of the pieces of feedback that we got from attendees was kind of the separation between the two. So we worked really hard on tightening that up. The other thing that we're kind of excited about is we've strengthened our relationship and our integration with the academic track. We're bringing that in as a more formal part of the event. The educators, the schools that we've worked with have been very excited to participate. They've worked really hard to develop their own brand or their style of content. It's a really nice complement for the overall program, and I do want to encourage people to take advantage of that. We're also looking to see how we can better reach the younger attorneys, the new attorneys, or the law students. Part of that is that we're looking at bringing in law students from local law schools to help us out, serving as like docents to help get people where they need to go, to help them get surveys filled out and whatnot, but more often to just expose them to the networking opportunities that the event provides. We're hoping that really, catches and takes hold for us. We really do want to see the young attorneys or the attorneys that are going out and hanging their shingles for the first time, to take advantage of this program. There's just so much really rich content that can be taken advantage of, but it requires some level of exposure. So we're hoping to be able to achieve that with these changes to the program.
Well, that's very interesting. There's always a ton of great educational content at ABA Tech Show. I am thrilled every time, and I've spoke a few times, but thrilled every time I'm invited to speak like I was this year. But attendees can't be at every single session. So, John, what's your advice to maximize the ABA Tech Show experience?
Yeah, we're kind of working on that cloning hologram thing, Jim. It's not working well. But no, seriously, I think Lincoln covered some of the bases earlier about the materials. If you can't make it to all the sessions, and obviously you can't, there's just so much going on. The materials for all of the sessions are available to the attendees, so you can actually go back afterwards, if you will, and get those. We also put up the slides, the PowerPoint slides are available for the attendees as well, not just the written materials. CLE materials. But on the Tech Show website, there's a good first-time experience guide. So even if it's not your first time, it kind of walks through and gives us some suggestions as to how to maximize your time while you're at Tech Show and some of the pointers that Lincoln's already mentioned. But specifically for Tech Show 2019, I would suggest attending the Saturday plenary. We're only going to have one. On Saturday morning. It's an hour and a half. But the difference this year, and this gets into one of those, what's new and experimental thing, is we're asking our speakers to submit maybe 2 or 3 takeaways from the sessions that they're going to present. And then we're going to assemble all of those things and then have basically a Tech Show recap of the best of all, if you will, the best of Tech Show from all the sessions into that final session. So at least you'll get a flavor for a little taste of what other sessions might have been talking about.
Well, it certainly sounds like it's going to be a wonderful tech show, and I can't tell you how much we have enjoyed having both of you as guests today. The 4 of us are long-time friends, and certainly Lincoln and John are 2 of the nerdiest guys I know. They are the ultimate in geeks. One of them I love like a husband, and one of them I just love. So both.
I'm so glad I got out of bed this morning.
You didn't know you were going to get into the soup here, did you? Well, Jim and I have both been captains of this ship in the past, and so we're really glad that the ship is in good hands, and I know it's going to be just a fantastic tech show. So thank you both very much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again for letting us come on.
Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of fun.
And that does it for this edition of the Digital Edge Lawyers in Technology. And remember, you can subscribe to all of the editions of this podcast at LegalTalkNetwork.com or on Apple Podcasts. And if you enjoyed our podcast, please rate us in Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye, Miss Sharon.
Happy trails, cowboy.
Thanks for listening to The Digital Edge, produced by the broadcast professionals at Legal Talk Network. Join Sharon Nelson and Jim Calloway for their next podcast covering the latest topic related to lawyers and technology. Subscribe to the RSS feed on LegalTalkNetwork.com or in iTunes. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.